Is your voice feeling tired or hoarse? Is this a chronic condition or is this something that you're just experiencing momentarily? Either way, today we are talking about what to do when your voice feels tired. We're also talking about what to look out for in terms of vocal damage and how to prevent it. Welcome back to Singing Tips with LJDstudios, the space where we take difficult singing concepts and break them down so you can actually understand and implement them for better singing. I'm Laura, and today we are talking about the less sexy but equally important side topic of vocal health. I don't know about you guys, but I've had some of those days where I'm just like, woo, everything is working. This is magic. Why do I not have to try so hard? You know what will help you have more of those days? Good vocal health. So stay tuned for all of my tips on how to stay in good vocal health, what to do when you're just feeling tired or sore or the cords are a little bit inflamed, and then what to really be concerned about and when to see an ENT for possible vocal damage. But in the meantime, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, download my free guide, The 3-Tiered Approach to Becoming a Better Singer, and lastly, sign up for my membership program. You guys, if you sign up right now, your first month is free. There is no commitment, so you can try it out. If you don't like it, cancel and you won't be charged a dime. All that's linked in the description. Okay, so let's get into it. What does good vocal health look like? The first thing I want to say is I think there's a lot of fear mongering out there in terms of like damaging your voice. And yes, of course, we don't want nodes. We definitely don't want that. We don't want any vocal injury, but in my opinion, your voice is a little bit more resilient than people make it out to be. But one quick little misconception that I want to dispel. Your vocal cords, yes, do have muscles, but there's also other tissue that makes up the vocal cords. And so when you just slam your cords together over and over again, you are not breaking them down to build them up stronger in the same way you would if you were going to the gym and lifting weights. You're just breaking them down. So it's not like, oh, I sang for an hour and then tomorrow I'm going to sing for an hour and 15 and then tomorrow I'm going to sing for an hour and 30 so they can break my voice down and it's going to get stronger and stronger. It's just going to break down. So factoring in some vocal rest is a really, really key component because what we're really trying to combat most of the time when it comes to vocal health is inflammation. So I'm going to get into that a little bit more here in just a second, but I just wanted to put that little caveat out there. Before I get into this, I don't want to fearmonger. Use your voice. You don't have to be afraid, right? But then also trust your instincts. Be smart about it, right? And then we'll talk about when it might be time to see an ENT. But I just don't want to scare anybody with this video. So just know, your voice it's stronger than you think it is, but we do want to make sure we're maintaining good vocal health habits. Okay, so what do you do in the event that your voice is feeling tired, fatigued, or strained? First of all, if this is the case, it most likely you have some inflammation of the cords. That could be from overuse. That could be from dehydration. That could be from a virus of some kind, especially if you're coughing and your cords are doing like this over and over again. It could be from just spending a night yelling at a loud bar. There are lots of reasons why you might be experiencing inflammation or swelling of the vocal cords. That is the most common reason you might feel like your voice is tired, fatigued, strained, or a little bit sore. And it's easily combated. The first thing I always tell people when it comes to this is there is no substitute for good rest. That means actual sleep, true rest for your body, right? But it also means not using your voice as much, okay? So to the best of your ability, if you don't have to sing, don't sing. If you don't have to yell, don't yell. Definitely don't scream. Try to avoid loud places. Maybe avoid spending an hour on the phone. There are certain places you cannot avoid using your voice. If you have to take a work meeting, you have to take a work meeting. But anywhere where you can eliminate using your voice, just be quiet. Shut up for a little while, okay? That's number one. And along those lines, if and when you do need to use your voice, use it well. So the most common thing I hear people say, if they're like, oh, I'm losing my voice, I'm just going to whisper. Don't whisper. That's the worst thing you could possibly do. I'd rather you yell than whisper. Whispering is let's say that you were out in the cold and the wind without gloves on, and you came back and your hands are super dry and chapped. You know what's going to make it worse? Blowing air all over it. And that's exactly what you're doing when you're whispering. You're blowing air across your already dry, chapped, swollen vocal cords. So do not whisper. Do speak lightly, but make sure there is clarity in the sound. So avoid vocal fry, avoid talking like this. And I know you might be like, I can't help it. This is the only way my voice will function. It's not true. You need to add more volume to it actually to get out of that vocal fry. And you need to pitch it a little bit higher. And it might feel weird and you might think you're going to sound weird. You probably don't. People aren't paying as much attention to your voice as you think they are. So pitch it a little higher than feels comfortable. I'm not talking like be up here, but I'm talking about instead of being down here, try to be up here, okay? So pitch it a little bit higher and actually make it a little bit louder, because if you make it a little bit louder, you're probably supporting it. I think a lot of the time when we get, when our voice is feeling tired or strained, our body is also feeling tired. So we end up not supporting the sound, and that's how we kind of end up down here like this. So it's not that your voice won't do anything besides this, it will. You just have to give it more energy. And then the last part is to use twang. I have a video on twang versus nasality that addresses the concept of twang for singing. Twang for speech is similar. It's a feeling of resonance being here. So if you hum a little, you'll feel a little bit of resonance there. Try to speak here. You can even use the phrase, Mama made some lemon jam. Now the sound is here and it's not so much here, okay? So vocal rest is super important. In the event that you can't be quiet, use your voice well, right? Speak higher than you ordinarily would. Stay out of vocal fry. Don't whisper and use twang, okay? So all those, that is my parameters around vocal rest, and then what to do when you do have to use your voice. Okay, step number 2, hydrate. Your voice is truthfully not really a huge priority to your body. So your vocal cords are one of the last things to receive the benefit of hydration. So make sure you are staying well hydrated, not just doing the minimum, but really, really staying well hydrated to the best of your ability. Avoid alcohol, avoid caffeinated beverages. But you guys, like, let's be real also. Like, if someone was like, you can't have your daily cup of coffee, I'd be like, you crazy, okay? I have a 5-month-old. I need my coffee. Just make sure you're complementing that with enough water, okay? And additionally, make sure you're getting electrolytes, because without electrolytes, your body is not absorbing that water or absorbing that hydration. So, of course, you can do that through an electrolyte beverage, an electrolyte tab, or I personally really like to just put a little wedge of lemon and a pinch of salt in my water, and then that's just a natural electrolyte. So you want to make sure your body is really absorbing that hydration and then it's not just passing through. Keep in mind, whatever you drink is not passing over your vocal cords. You have a breathing tube and you have an eating tube. Your vocal cords are in your breathing tube. So whatever you drink does not go down that tube, right? If it does, that's when you start coughing. So I know you think your honey tea is coating your vocal cords. It's not, I'm sorry. But I will say, like, honey has anti-inflammatory properties, so it can help with inflammation of the cords in that it's going to help your whole body reduce inflammation. But just keep in mind, whatever you're drinking, it is not touching your vocal cords, right? But you want to hydrate your body so that your vocal cords get hydrated. If you want to directly hydrate your vocal cords, that's where steaming is super handy, because your vocal cords are in your breathing tube. So whatever you breathe in is going to pass over your vocal cords. So if you're in like a smoky room, that's why that hurts your vocal cords. But if you want to do a steam, right, I think it's probably pretty obvious, but go to a gym, go to a spa, sit in a steam room, or just turn on your shower and stand in the shower for a while and really breathe in all that steam. That's going to help hydrate your vocal cords, and that's going to help reduce swelling and inflammation so that you can feel like your voice works the way you want it to work. Tip number 3 for when your voice is feeling strained: if you do need to sing, use SOVT exercises. What are SOVT exercises? Semi-occluded vocal tract. And all that means is just a fancy way of saying singing with your mouth partially closed. What that does is it creates a little bit of back pressure so that you get air not just coming from underneath the cords, but coming back on top of the cords. That's going to help them vibrate more easily. So guys, there's a million videos out there on straw singing, so check out straw singing. Do your lip trills. I've got a video on how to do lip trills, hums. There are lots of different ways to do SOVT exercises, but those can also be super helpful, especially in the event that you do need to use your voice a little bit. They can kind of get your voice warmed up, lubricated, so that you can then use it well. Going back to step number 1, if you have to use it well. SOVT exercises will help you do that. And then tip number 4, do some yoga, do some stretching. When our voice is strained, sometimes there's some tightness through the larynx and the surrounding muscles. So if you can do some yoga or some stretching, particularly that targets the neck, the shoulders, and the hips, all of that could potentially help reduce any muscular tension here through the larynx and then help reduce some strain. Fun fact, like your pelvic region and your jaw, throat region really mirror each other. So don't neglect the hips. I know the shoulders and the neck probably feel like obvious areas to stretch, but the hips also can really, really help release tension here. So I highly recommend doing some relaxing, stretchy yoga. Don't do like a million chaturangas. That's not going to help. So maybe not so much power yoga, but more of like a hatha yoga or a yin yoga, something that's really going to help loosen up the muscles of your body and ultimately the muscles surrounding the larynx. That can also help reduce some vocal strain. Okay, so those are all the things that you're going to do in order to avoid potentially damaging your voice. Most vocal injuries occur when we try to push through moments when we're already strained, when we're already fatigued, when we're already inflamed, right? So really make sure you're practicing those vocal health tips. If you do that, you probably can avoid injury. But let's talk about what to do if you think you might have an injury or what to look out for. So I think the biggest thing is huge changes to your voice. Like if you're used to being able to sing up to a certain pitch and suddenly you can't, and like let's say you can't for like a week because you're sick, that's one thing. But suddenly you can't, and you can't for a long period of time, for like we're talking like weeks or months, then you might want to start thinking about, is there a problem? Something to listen for is if you go for a higher pitch and you hear like breath and then like a slamming of the vocal cords together like this. Right? That's an indicator that there might be possibly just inflammation. Again, if this is only happening for a short window of time and it's happening after a night when you were yelling a lot, or if it's happening after a night when you were singing a lot, or if it's happening after you've had a cold and it only goes on for like a week or so, it's likely just inflammation. But if that's happening repeatedly for long periods of time, that's when you might want to think like, hey, let's just get scoped. Let's go get a camera to take a look and see if there's anything else going on there. And you guys, the diagnosis of a vocal node or something like that, it is not the end of the world. I actually had a cyst on my vocal cord when I was 18 years old trying to audition for music conservatories. It was the worst timing in the world, right? But I went on complete vocal rest for 6 weeks. I did go on steroids. I don't recommend that unless you absolutely have to. And I kind of absolutely had to because like I had to audition for these conservatories. But that can be another part of the plan if need be. And eventually it went away. So it's not like your singing career is over if you end up with nodes or something like that. These things are treatable. You just want to know what to look out for. Another thing to look out for is, can you slide from the low part of your voice to the high part of your voice and back down evenly? So something like this. And there are no holes in the sound. And again, if there's a hole in the sound and that only lasts for a week or two, then don't worry about it. But if there's a hole in the sound and it goes on for months, again, that's another indication. So what a hole in the sound might sound like is this. Almost like the middle part of your voice gets skipped over. Or if you get up to the high part and you used to be able to do it up there and you can't do it anymore. Those are the big things to look out for, because what that means is your vocal cords are having a hard time coming all the way together, right? So going back to this example, right? Something is impeding their ability to come together, and then they have to slam together, and that's what you're hearing, okay? So those are things to look out for in terms of possible vocal damage. But my biggest thing is this happening chronically? Is this happening long term? If it's only happening for a few weeks after you've had a cold, after you've had a long night out or whatever, I'm not super worried about it. I am worried about it if it goes on long term. Also, I am not a doctor, so trust your instincts. If you think there's something wrong with your voice, go see someone. That's what I did. I thought I was being this like 18-year-old drama queen of like, oh, there's something wrong with my voice. But I think even at 18, I had an instinct. I was like, I've been singing my whole life. Suddenly something feels different. Maybe I should see a doctor. And I was right about it. So trust your instincts on that. But also I don't want to fear monger. Trust your instincts. Pay attention to what you're feeling. Try to get to know your voice, make friends with it. And if it's not behaving the way you're used to it behaving, then there's no harm in going in and having them. It's not super fun. They stick a camera up your nose and down your throat, but there's no harm in it. Get it checked out. But otherwise, practice good vocal health and you should have a long, happy, healthy career of singing. All right. Good luck, you guys. Happy singing.